Hello, Spider Wayne here. I'm about to go out for a ride. It's a beautiful day. And recently I had seen a few videos on the Roadside America attractions put out by people like Mr. McStash, Blue Bike and Doyle, UCM Pigs, and a few others. And this week I decided to check out the website for Roadside America, and lo and behold, there are a few near me. But one in particular is only 6 miles away, and that's the one we're going to check out today. Alright, so here we go. This attraction that we're going to see is a very colorful house. And I had seen it several times in the past and knew absolutely nothing about it or the history of it or the man behind who made it today. Okay, we're here, and they have removed most of what I came to see. It was everywhere on the front here, on the side. They will be returning it sometime in 2022. But while we're here, I will read the story of this house, and I have pictures of everything that was here that I will put up as well. So some history. First of all, the history of the houses here. This pretty looking house in front of us was built in 1880, so over 140 years ago. The two houses on either side were built in 1910, so they are well over 100 years. And behind me, this house on the corner was also built in 1880, and I know the first two here were built in 1907. So all the houses are very old. So most of the houses around here are 100 plus years old. I'm sure there's some that are a little bit younger, but... So this house is called the Second Coming House of Prophet Isaiah. And Isaiah was a man who died in January of 2020. His full name was Isaiah Henry Robertson. So until a few years ago, Isaiah Henry Robertson was just a regular guy, a middle-aged home builder who had moved to Niagara Falls to buy cheap houses. He'd fix them up. He'd then flip them for a profit, and I did read he did rent some out. Then God spoke to Isaiah. God told Isaiah, who was a Canadian, originally from Jamaica. He was born in 1947 in Jamaica. He emigrated to Canada when he was 24 years old, and he ended up moving to the U.S., I believe, in 2004.
So God bless you, okay?
Thank you. You too. Some nice neighbors walking by. That was nice. Anyway, Isaiah moved from Canada to the U.S. around 2004. And he was buying these old, inexpensive fixer-upper houses. And he also was contracted by a local church, the Mount Erie Baptist Church. And they contracted him to repair the walls. And the original contract, from what I read, was he was going to replace the existing walls with drywall, or replace the drywall. And he was partway done that contract when he received his first prophecy from God. And what he did at that point was, at his own expense, he stopped doing the drywall job. He went around the area, he bought all the oak wood he could find, and I will post a picture of this church. And he redid the walls with oak, and his designs and his carpentry are beautiful. And a lot of his designs ended up on quite a few things that are no longer sitting here. The preservation is in progress, as we can see from that sign, and it will all be back in 2022. So anyhow, God told Isaiah that he was actually in Niagara Falls for a very important purpose. So this was his first prophecy, because it was where the world would end in 2014. God said that Isaiah would become his prophet, and God would guide Isaiah's hands to transform a rundown Niagara Falls house into a carnival-colored showplace, a beacon to catch people's attention so that they could be saved. So before I read on, think about it. What his neighbors must have thought about Isaiah and his house. I'm sure he faced criticism and probably a lot of grief as he transformed his home. And I did a lot of research this morning, and apparently he was pretty well known amongst the locals, and a lot of people thought he was crazy, but the consensus was he was a gentle, nice, friendly man that everybody liked. So even though they may have thought he was a little crazy, he went to work at transforming this house. Anyway, 2014 has come and gone. I'm going to continue the story here. But we doubt that the prophet is too disappointed. The house of prophet Isaiah, and he lives inside now, and that was back in 2013, is now a spectacular piece of spiritual eye candy, with thousands of bright-hued, hand-carved surfaces continually painted and repainted by its owner. Multi-denominational religious symbolism is layered everywhere: doves, trumpets, crescents, multi-pointed stars, wheels, and wheels within wheels. There's an accidental brush stroke next to the front door, which Isaiah declared to be an image of the Virgin Mary. There was a rock, an anchor, out by the sidewalk here, and Isaiah said that represented the empty tomb of Christ. And at the back of the driveway, Isaiah built a kaleidoscopic cross augmented with hundreds of multi-chrome wooden armatures. It was 25 feet tall, the same height that Isaiah said that Jesus would be when he returns to earth for Judgment Day. According to Isaiah, many tourists visit his home but come no closer than a furtive drive-by, pointing a smartphone camera out their car window. People may be understandably nervous about meeting the prophet. After all, America has had its share of scary roadside visionaries. But they shouldn't be. Prophet Isaiah is warm and outgoing and so jolly that you sometimes forget that he's talking about doomsday. He welcomes visitors and told us that he's available most of the time. We just showed up, rang his bell, and he unexpectedly appeared behind us walking down the street with a cheerful hello. Prophet Isaiah is cordial to the church and the lost alike, but in the course of conversation with him, you may find yourself suddenly and unexpectedly saved. If everyone in your party is granted salvation, Isaiah said, it will automatically sanctify your car, guaranteeing a safer return, at least until the apocalypse, whenever that may be. We enjoyed our visit with the prophet Isaiah, but we wondered, what do his neighbors think? The local folks who have lived in the reflected glow of his house and prophecy every day. Isaiah said, they know, but they don't believe. A little sadly, he looked, glancing at the cross. Some of them is going to be goats, he said. So Isaiah did die in January of 2020, and this house was bought by a foundation called the Kohler Foundation, Kohler. They're out of Wisconsin. They are a rescuer and reviver of many folk art environments. They also announced that they will preserve the second coming house of the late prophet Isaiah Henry Robertson, who died in 2020. Robertson had predicted that the world would end in 2014 and that every human being would then fly past his house. Kohler is going to spend the next year restoring the house and its art, and will then turn its care over to the Niagara Falls National Heritage Area. So they have donated this house to the Niagara Falls National Heritage Area, but they haven't turned it over yet. They're in the process of renovating all the artwork that was out front here. And again, if I haven't shown the pictures already, I will be showing pictures. The Niagara Falls National Heritage Area is one of 49 national heritage areas in the United States. The Niagara Falls National Heritage Area was designated by the United States Congress in 2008, and its mission is to preserve, protect, and promote the historic, natural, and cultural resources of the area stretching from Niagara Falls, New York, to Old Fort Niagara, which is in Youngstown. In August of 2012, Congress approved the management plan for the National Heritage Area. So thanks to the Kohler Foundation, who's out of Wisconsin, this house will be preserved and taken care of in the future. So this man, Isaiah Henry Robertson, a simple, gentle, and jolly man who was well liked. They thought he was a little crazy. He has left a lasting legacy in this community. It may not be everyone's cup of tea, but his home will stand for many, many years as a monument and a tribute in memory of this man's love and devotion to his faith and his community. How many of us would be able to say the same thing? So, if nothing else, I hope you found this to be a little interesting. It was off the beaten path a little bit in Niagara Falls. Until this week, I had no idea about the history of this house and the man behind it. But from now on, whenever I drive by this house, I think I'll be smiling now that I know the history and the legacy of the man who made this house. So that's it for today. Beautiful day. I am going to go for a ride and enjoy the rest of the ride around Niagara Falls and surrounding areas. And until next time, take care.